Team W, it's Dr. Wooden. It is Monday morning, June 23rd, and I've posted your grades for Unit 4, and I wanted to give you some feedback as a group about how you did on this particular assignment. This is a long assignment. It's pretty complex, and it is basically designed to set the reader up and set up your entire project so that as you begin to draw your conclusions and you identify your goals and your objectives and the communication strategies and feedback loops and whatnot that are going to be part of each of the upcoming units, that this really lays the foundation so that as I read your particular capstone, I can really understand what you're trying to tell me, and I really understand the conditions of your organization and why, when you ultimately give me your goals and objectives, they make perfect sense. You will hear very little argument or very little concern or lack of commitment from me. So that's why this particular unit was very important. I posted your grades this morning, and I want to make just a couple overall comments to you as you think about your grades, and I hope that my comments on your papers were helpful to you. First of all, one of the things that I noticed was we really needed to focus a great deal on the background of your organization. Focus me through how it came about to being, what the local and national and perhaps even global implications are to your organization. Several of you gave me the background from the standpoint of the founder and how it was started, etc. But by and large, most of your analysis needed a little bit more background so that I really have a thorough understanding of what your organization is all about. Part of that comes from some of the data or the demographics that I was hoping you would include. So for example, when I hear about, for example, as your particular organization, SNF, I wanted to get a sense of who your global competition is. I wanted to have demographics about how many people are employed at your organization, what the variety of challenges being acquired and then sold and acquired and sold had in terms of employee recruitment. If any of you had any kind of employee engagement survey, that gives us a sense of what it's like to live and work in that organization. That's really what the strength of this particular analysis are. Many of you jumped to the conclusions or assumptions within your writing without very much data. You would make a statement and say this leads to employee loyalty, or this leads to a lack of employee loyalty. That's a conclusion or an assumption that you're driving, and you didn't provide exactly the kind of data that would lead us to make an overall comment like this has an impact on employee loyalty. So the issue of writing in a very objective manner is a very important technique that I want you to begin to think about, particularly as you think about your Unit 5 assignment. Your Unit 4 assignment would have set up all of the conditions for you in Unit 5 this week to be able to pull out the big themes that you heard and then draw some conclusions that ultimately in Unit 7 will lead to your goals and objectives. The stakeholder analysis for most of you could have been a little bit stronger. There were a number of tools in the Dropbox and online. For example, under the Mind Tools piece that's in the Dropbox, there's a great power and influence grid that could be used to really describe the stakeholders and the combination of do they have high or low power, high or low influence, because ultimately you will go back to those stakeholders as you think about your communication strategies and your implementation and your feedback and your monitoring strategies. So those are important analysis that needed to be included in this particular assignment for Unit 4. Several of you struggled, and I will tell you that you struggled, I think, trying to get your arms around the stakeholders. One of the things that's very important for you to consider in the stakeholder analysis is, will they make a difference in governance when you go to implement this? Will they make a difference in terms of the relative power that they have in influencing other people to accept the recommendations? And ultimately, I think the last piece that I do want to mention to you, I think a number of you tried to put some conclusions in this particular unit. That is Unit 5. Unit 5 is where you really take a look at what you wrote in Unit 4. You draw some conclusions and you make your recommendations there in terms of considerations. What do we need to consider as your organization moves forward? And then what are the conclusions? So keep in mind the title of the Unit 5 assignment. It's Considerations, Strategic Considerations, and Conclusions. So this is where you'll draw some conclusions about where you think energy and effort needs to be spent in relationship to the issues that you've brought up regarding mission, vision, values, the context that you describe in Unit 4. I hope you find my comments to be guiding comments for you as you write your Unit 5 assignment, and that will be due at the end of this week. Again, it's strategic considerations and conclusions. So it should probably be somewhere 5, 6, 7 pages at the most. You're drawing down everything that you wrote in Unit 4, and you're highlighting the major themes and the major issues that you can come to conclusion about in terms of how to proceed. I enjoyed reading your paper. I recognize that you put a lot of work into this and that this is a challenge for you. This entire module will be a challenge for you. Your postings have increased somewhat, and the quality of them has increased somewhat, and I'm pleased to see that. I think we still want to ratchet them up a bit so that you can begin to engage each other in a lively dialogue. You're being very supportive of each other, and I appreciate that, as I know each of you do. Let's see if we can also begin to spend these last 8 units that we have before we finish in August really putting this as a priority, putting the finishing of this degree as a priority, and helping you be proud of what you're doing and proud of the documentation and the experience that you can share with your family and your friends and your employers in September when we all get to see each other at the final residency. I look forward to reading your assignments this week, and I'll see you online. Bye-bye.